4 strategic habits that actually helped me make 10 million by the age of 23. In this video, I want to talk about strategic habits. I'm not talking about personal habits, I'm talking about habits that I actually use inside of business, different routines that I can kind of get into the rhythm that kind of help me getting to the goal faster. If I wouldn't have them, I'll probably not make this money so far. So let's start with the video right now. The first habit is taking notes. Okay, I also use that in the private life, but before I've never taken notes in my life. Everything that I've documented before in my life was all gone. You know, I only started to actually document things and write everything down, and I still have those notes since I'm 18. That's where I started to do business. And the way to understand about taking notes is documenting everything that you do, writing that down. For example, I'm journaling, so I'm writing down my feelings, I'm writing down my experiences, I'm writing down what I did good, what I did wrong. So I remember next time when I'm doing it, I can do much more efficiently. If I have to remind myself that I have to do something tomorrow, I either take a note or I create a task directly that I'm gonna do it tomorrow. If I learn something from a video, I'm not just passively watching the video, but I'm actually taking notes. So next time I'll rewatch the video or something, maybe I learned something new. And then I can also add it to the other information on those notes. I have a different note for each topic, and there I'm always constantly adding new notes. So the mind map that exists in my head gets new synapses and they all make sense to each other, and therefore like my learning is much faster and I won't forget anything. I won't forget about any important birthday. I'll send a good birthday wish to all my business partners and employees. I'm writing the exact note on every file whatsoever created, so wherever I need something, I can find it very easily. I can type in the thing and I know how I typed it in, right? Sometimes you learn something, but you don't know the right keyword to find the information. But since I'm so used to writing everything down, I kind of have a structure inside a structure, so I know exactly where this is. And this habit only gets better, the compound only gets better the more you create notes. Then you will remember the way you write, you will also improve the style of it, and therefore the information flow inside your brain will be much faster and you can get things much faster done. The second most important habit that I learned is strategic thinking. And that's the art about understanding what the most fundamental things are and then just following it without questioning them. And then whenever you reach them, you want to do the last 1% by yourself. So you want to figure it out. The way I did it in dropshipping was not to question whether I have to do the marketing like this or that, whether I have to use a different Shopify theme or not. But I basically just followed what was there, what already worked in the English speaking market. Then I used this information to use it in the unsaturated market, and the only thing that I did was translating it and kind of adapting to the market with some local payment processors and with some right vocabulary to the market. Also the currency was changed and the pricing was kind of adapted towards the market, and that worked. That started to pay off really well. And then I used the same strategy for other unsaturated markets. I wasn't questioning too much, like the strategy has been already found. I just had to replicate it. And it took a while to actually replicate it, to actually repeat everything what the others were doing. Strategic thinking is also about more things. Strategic thinking is about finding conclusions to things as fast as possible. When you do a big decision in your life, you want to have a lot of questions prepared before everybody else has the chance to even think about it. I have like 7 questions that I usually ask myself when I do a big decision. I've done a video on top of that. And when I go through the list, maybe I will remind myself to watch the point of view from another direction. So I keep thinking all those questions through, and then there should be a solution. Sometimes I still have to sleep on it, and it takes some time because I also have to ask some colleagues, some friends for these kind of things. But in general, since I wrote it down and I'm strategic thinker in this kind of sense, I'll do much better decisions and I can avoid biases that we naturally have and therefore be a more effective business person. The third habit is messaging back directly. Whenever I wake up or whenever the time is, okay, I have a bad habit of messaging people directly back, but it's actually a really good habit to have, because sometimes you're watching your phone and you receive a bunch of messages that gives you a lot of stress, a lot of cortisol in your brain, and you feel like not answering them. You're waiting until it's already too late to answer whatsoever, and then you text them back at midnight when they are not awake anymore. The best time to actually text back is directly. Whenever you receive the message, that's the best time when you send a message back, especially if you deal most of the time with a bunch of people. Usually as a business owner, if you have already a team, like you wouldn't spend 2, 3, 4 hours by yourself doing some deep work stuff, but the rest of the time you want to be available for others to actually take care of them. That's what a good team leader is doing, being available for his team. And most of the time you also spend by doing research, so very easy task, right? You can do a little bit of research and at the same time text with somebody, exchange ideas, and then keep doing research. So that's why I'm constantly available, and that's why you took back and forth. Sometimes you're catching people in this right moment, and that's where like this fast texting back and forth is happening, which is kind of really important because it basically incentivizes you both to keep messaging about very relevant details, and that's where the value is created. If you send somebody a message, you ask them out a question and you receive the message back just in 1 week, like there's not so much value created in that. You can get into good habits, like there are some times when people are usually more available, and it's usually on the second half of the day. Usually people split their day based on the first half where they are just by themselves, and the second half where they have time to actually reply back to other messages and keep messaging. A lot of people also text at night, so I would say between 6 p.m. till 1 a.m. So that's usually also a good time to actually keep contacting with people. I actually found a lot of business owners being night owls, so you shouldn't be ashamed of texting people at night and then receiving a message back and feeling weird to actually text them back. I think I've never talked much about others and have questions myself why they answer me at this time. Like who cares? Maybe they have insomnia and they couldn't sleep. Also, if you're like just starting and you need a job or somewhere like that, like usually somebody will be picked for a job who's not only fulfilling all those things, but who's fast, you know? If I'm applying somewhere or if I'm sending out even like an Instagram message and I ask for something, like I usually am acceptable of the same message that I find kind of interesting and lucrative. I'm not gonna wait for every message that is popping up before I'm gonna take a step. So if you're one of the first ones who are replying to things, it's so you get so much benefits. And I'm not seeing many people talk about these things. They tell you like, oh, I have a time whenever I have to send messages back or I have to reply to emails. No, it's like an actual activity that you're doing for getting rich. It's one of the most essential habits that you can have. So nurture this habit and get better in texting. You're not gonna jump on a Zoom call every time you text with somebody, so learn how to actually text properly, get into a habit of writing fast and getting a message across as fast as possible. Also, don't get into the habit of sending voicemails. That's usually what people don't like. Nobody likes it. And the last habit is setting up an SOP, standard operation procedure, as fast as possible. Sometimes I'm trying out something new the first time, so it doesn't make sense to SOP it directly. But then for some other tasks, I already know that I'm gonna SOP that anyways. So where, for example, for human resources, whenever I hire somebody, I know that I have to repeat this process anyways, like the next time. So for me to write this down, to write in, for example, the login details on one sheet, because I'm gonna give this file probably to another employee or my HR manager, and she has to have those things already in place. So I'm already writing them down. Then I'm already writing down a structure, the way I want to structure my job application format. And whenever I need it again, I can just replicate it and just change up a little bit of the things to use it again. Because most of the things for the company file, like the start of the letter and the end, will be probably the same. You have to change obviously the job requirements, but it's actually just a smaller part, 1/4 of the whole letter that you can just replicate. Whenever I'm trying out a new procedure, for example, for product research, I'm actually writing this down so I can remember what I did specifically. And then I can also send this over to my team and tell them, hey, you see, I did this. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a good strategy? You can also write down an SOP, not just by text form, but you can record yourself while you do certain things. You can record it and then also share your thought patterns, even though the other person has to listen more to you while you're doing it. If it's something very important and you're gonna share it this way, it's actually better because that's how people are learning. That's why you are also on YouTube, because you don't want to just hear it. You're not gonna listen just to a podcast, but actually you want to get some visuals so you understand what the other person is saying. even though you're just watching me, you still get the signals of eye contact, of the way my body moves, the way I'm excited in my voice. So from those informations, you can get also more information. That's why if you document something, usually text form, it's simpler and you can get your message faster across. But with video, you have much more information overall. And depending what you're doing, in case of product research, that would be actually much more beneficial. So those were my 4 habits that I find super important to have. I'm curious what kind of habits you got that you find really valuable and that you couldn't live without. Write them down in the comment section down below. And also make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the video and hit the bell button to get notified every time a new video pops up. Alright guys, see you. Cheers.